hello to you and you and you, Topline.
And your loved ones. And your
loved ones. And your hate ones.
Them too.
Your hated ones.
Inclusive people.
Yeah.
Pull your microphone closer to you, Asad. We need to hear you.
There.
We've only been doing this for almost 2 years. It's like this first time
We're still
we're
figuring it
recording.
all out. Asad's he's like, I look so good. He's so enamored.
I want this in front of my face, hiding this beautiful face.
You're one of the great, gorgeous Pakistanis of Toronto in 2024.
There we go. Not the world. So next year will be the world.
Welcome to Topline, the podcast for the best founders, operators, and investors in B2B tech. Every week, AJ Bruno, Asad Zaman, and me, Sam Jacobs, will break down what's important for you to know to be the most well-informed professionals in the market.
Your deal is almost closed, and all that's left is the security review. But when it comes to those lengthy questionnaires, the endless back and forths can often cause deals to stall out, leaving your deal at risk and dollars on the table. With Vanta questionnaire automation, go-to-market teams can complete security reviews up to 5 times faster, helping you close deals in less time than ever. Visit vanta.com/topline to learn more about questionnaire automation.
Well, this is the first time that the three of us are recording together in like a month, maybe more.
Because of all the guests.
I know. We have all the guests. And me skipping. I skipped them.
Yeah, you skipped one.
Yeah.
I think it's good to have guests, but it's also good to not have guests.
Yes. And now we have a new format where we're going to have most of our guests there. We get to hang out once a week or so.
We're not going to announce it until it's officially... Because we got to make sure that we do it. Otherwise, just keep listening to Topline, everybody.
Make sure it's on top of your wrap. Make sure it's on your top of your wrap, your Spotify wrap.
A lot of people have it. Spotify wrap, Pavilion wrap, Sales Talent Agency wrap, Quota Path wrap. Hey, here's your top commission plan.
Adaptable. This is the most adaptable commission plan that you had this year.
Your top 3 plans. AI.
I was on ChatGPT last week looking for quota to OTE ratio data for a client, and Quota Path came up in my search, and I was very proud. You were the first.
AI optimized.
We just demoed Plan Builder AI to the entire company today, and we asked, give us the best multi-year benchmark comp plan, and it did it. So we joke, but it's coming in January. We're launching this.
So what does this do?
What does it do?
What will it do?
It takes a PDF, and your comp plan is a PDF, and you drag and drop it in, and it will give you all the parts of that plan. And then you say, I want to optimize it and do this better, or I want to do this better, or run this out for the next 3 years. What should a quota look like, or waterfall? Add a multi-year component, add a draw, add a spiff. It's a prompt. Talk to it.
Will it help a person think through the various inputs and just the overall structure? So there was an example of a client whose investors were telling them to have a 5 or 6 sets quota to OTE ratio. And then when I was talking to them, it just felt like that conversion rates weren't there. And so I was trying to help them with that. Can that person come in and be like, this is what I've been told to do. How should I think through this?
Well, you're spoiling our future product roadmap, Asad, right now on the show, but we'll get in there. We'll get there. Not yet.
Good.
Not yet.
Good.
All right. Well, we haven't let everybody know that what they're listening to. You may not remember that you subscribed to this podcast. Maybe somebody that you didn't like did it for you. They hacked into your phone. You were asleep and they held up your phone for the your sleeping face, your visage, and then they subscribed you to talk. And you're like, what is this? Why am I listening to these people? There's one smart-sounding British guy and 2 stupid-sounding American guys. And I'm one of those 2 stupid-sounding American guys. Everybody.
And I'm not British.
Okay. AJ, are you okay? AJ's sick. Asad's feeling good, seems like.
I don't get sick. This is annoying. It's the first time in 2 years. Congestion. My kids got me sick. But wellness check, outside of the sickness, I'm doing well. Sprinting to the end of the year. Feel on top of my stuff for my goals. Next week, I'm looking forward to doing a retro and going through everything. I'll start with a win of the week. This will be a different win of the week. I'm just changing the format of
styling on
right
the meds.
I'm going to start with the win.
It's all about AJ.
This happens once a year where AJ is like, I'm going to do my shout out at the start of the episode.
Yeah, I don't care what format you all have.
About me.
Yeah, me. This isn't about me, Sam. This is about my daughter, Nora.
This is about somebody that works for you.
And I coach. No, this is about Nora, and I coach her basketball team. And Nora scored 26 of their team's 48 points in her basketball game.
That's amazing.
That's wild.
She crushed it. So she plays on 3 basketball teams. One I coach, one I assistant coach, and then the team that she scored 26 points on, I don't coach. But
you're not involved there.
I was not involved with that at all. But I got to watch from the sidelines and cheer her on.
26 is a lot.
26 is a lot.
Yeah,
I don't even watch basketball. That sounds like a lot.
She had a great and one. She hit almost a 3-pointer that was like way outside. She's in third grade. So
26. Yeah, that's great. Okay, I was going to ask that question. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for Nora. Yay, Nora.
Me too.
Yeah. So I'm getting over my sickness.
Very pretty.
Sam,
pretty.
how are you doing?
I'm good. Today I'm good. So I was last week not so good. Very angry last week. Kind of frustrated last week.
That didn't show on the episode at all last week. Didn't show on the Topline episode.
I don't think I just didn't speak that much when Janet Gehrman was with us.
Sam, when he's angry, he doesn't speak much, but he stares intensely. You all should watch the YouTube channel when Sam is not himself. He's very intense.
Well, it's nice of you to say that being angry is not myself. I appreciate that. That's actually a compliment.
It is a compliment.
A windy compliment, but it is one.
No, I like you, AJ. I feel, I've been far more dialed in and engaged with my team since I moved than before. And there's a few different reasons for that. I am marginally less available, but I think the time they have with me, I'm far more attentive and far more focused. And I've also really enjoyed, I've basically uploaded not every board deck, but the last couple board decks, all of my investor updates, our last 2 strategic plans. I put it all into ChatGPT. And I've created basically an engine, and I feel like that's AI. GPT specifically are like the future wikis. Like you should put every company policy, everything into it, and then somebody can say, "Do we do this? How do we do that?" And it can just spit out the outcome. So I've really been enjoying working with ChatGPT because it's been helping me think through, and it just helps like. Anytime you have a thought about your business, like one of the things I've been doing is I have like a little syntax where it's rule : and then like something that I want to be true. And then I can periodically say, are any of our rules in conflict with each other? And it can be like, well, you say that you want member experience, but you also say you want to grow revenue this much or whatever. So helps kind of think it through. And then
Sam, are you talking to it at all? Like, do you like to interact with it like through the spoken word, or are you typing everything?
I'm typing so far. I haven't tried talking to it, but I also did what Asad characterized, which is I created 3 personas. So I have Carl, that's the even-keeled middle person. I have Peter. Peter's the pessimist. Peter's the person that's going to find the reason why any plan will not work. And then Abe, after my boy, my dog, Abe is the optimist. He's the eternal optimist. Here's why you're going to be able to do this X, Y, or Z. And so I ask it, and sometimes I'm saying, have Peter, the pessimist, give me the reasons why it still might work.
You should have like Abe and Peter interact with each other and like in a conversation. Okay, Abe,
so great.
Abe, talk to Peter and show me that.
That's actually a really good idea. I'm going to do that. By the way, question for you both: how do I get O1 Pro? All I see in my drop down is O1 or O1 Mini.
You have a paid account, or is Pro the absolute new version that just came out? That one you have to
pay. The absolute new version. Is it not available?
It's on mobile. I have it on mobile, but I think it's because if you do it on mobile, you can get O1 Pro.
All right, I'll check.
I actually don't see it here, but they've released so much in the last couple of weeks because now I'm trialing. I'm sure you guys are trying the Chrome extension for replacing Google for search. When you write a memo now, it actually takes you to a memo writing part of ChatGPT, which is pretty interesting. Sam, so I do everything you do. One thing, if everyone's out there and they're going to try this, make sure you turn off share with OpenAI in your preferences and settings, because otherwise you'll do what Samsung did and share their new chip out, and people were able to get access to that. So just be careful with your own content and information.
I had a nightmare. Sometimes you have a nightmare, like you showed up to work and you're naked. But this one was like I gave some, people that I didn't know very well access to my ChatGPT instance, and that was terrifying.
It is. There's another one that they've got, AJ, where you can create a project and you can give the project some training, and then every tab within that project has the context of like that core training. So you can have one that is specifically your financial analyst for the business, another one that's your product person. You can kind of train them differently to play different roles. So it is very interesting how much they've shipped recently.
Yeah. Well, Sora. Am I the only one that's playing around with Sora? Am I the only one that's playing around with Sora right now?
Have you made any videos that aren't about what a hero you are?
Yeah. No, but here's what I am. No, I haven't.
The fact that that guy looked exact. AJ texted me and Asad a video, and it's like some red-haired,
red-bearded. Yeah,
red-bearded.
He's an entrepreneur coming out of the rainforest, looking with wonderment about the world around him, and it was me. I renamed it to AJ coming out of the rain. Look, here's what I do with it. It's actually really interesting that every day there's in my productivity, it says I am grateful for, and instead of just writing something down, I write down a prompt and I send it to Sora and I get a video and it gives me inspiration for the day.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun to play around with. It's only been a week, so you all should check it out. It's pretty crazy. I mean, we're in the real of AI right now, guys. This
is the point where we're talking about how we use it, like actually use it, as opposed to like, I don't know what this thing does. What's it good for?
Yeah.
Like a year ago, we were there. Like we were like, what's the actual use case? And within a year, so much has changed. So when you think about a year out from now.
Well, Tomas says he uses it 150 times a day.
50 to 100 times an hour.
What does that? How? That's crazy.
I think he's just constantly recording his life and talking into it, and I think that's what he means. Like, I think everything which is, I think the future. I think the future is like put everything into an AI and have it synthesize and tell you what your problem is, or what your goals are, or whatever.
We're gonna have
this is where voice is so powerful, because he's using it off of voice, right? That's the only way you can get that type of productivity with it. But it was like, till I read what he wrote, I thought I was using it a lot. And then after that, I was like, good grief, like I'm scratching at the surface in terms of how integrated in my daily life this is. I will ask him. He's coming on in a few weeks. We'll ask him how he's using it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's recording
100 times an hour. I still don't know what I would ask him.
I bet you he will be recording the conversation and giving himself shorthand notes for the conversation.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Which will be interesting. We'll call him out on it immediately. Like, that doesn't sound, where did you get that? And we'll see what happens.
Well, we've started the show.
We have started this show.
You want to kick us off? I mean, AI for go-to-market, brother.
Okay, so at the end of the year, we like to look back and then look forward a little bit. So this is that episode where we're going to talk about a lesson or a takeaway from 2024 for each of us, as well as a prediction, a take on 2025, which should be fun. And then we'll hold ourselves accountable to it and come back to it at the end of next year and see what we got right, what we got wrong. So that's the agenda. Let's jump in. Sam, I like your look backs. Let's start with you. When you think about 2024 and your experience through it, as you sit at this reflective time of the year, what's your biggest lesson or your biggest takeaway from this year?
The theme of this year for us was profitable stability. The theme of next year is more and better, taken from Asad. The theme of 2026 is the year of the mountain lion. But
I like that.
My reflection on this year is the power of building a plan, clear, prioritization, sticking to the plan, and leaning into your strengths. And that's nothing. I don't think that's particularly rocket science. I also think so. I don't know. Maybe I just don't have one reflection, but that's the sum of it. The sum of it is that good things take time, and we began reinvention or back to basics, whatever you want to call it, in the middle of 2023. And we haven't even seen the full fruits of it yet in Pavilion. I think 2025 will be even better, but 2024, particularly compared to 2023, if you look at the difference between being and 2 years ago, pretty meaningfully unprofitable to profitable. Our NPS, Net Promoter Score, for executives is approaching 50, which is basically the scores from the Revenue Collective days. We didn't have a member hub a year ago at all. We had just parted ways with our product and engineering team. Now we've got a member hub with all of our courses, all of our chapter events, a member directory, everything running through Salesforce so that we have one set of data. So we've improved churn 40% or 50% compared to a year ago. So retention has meaningfully improved. That so I feel, when I reflect on the year, I think, you know what? Good things take time. You have to be really patient. Everything that you think will take 6 months takes 12 months. Everything that takes 12 months takes 24 months. Would I prefer to be further ahead than we are now? Yes, I would. Do I feel good about the direction we're heading? Very good. Do I feel like we've got it all figured out? Absolutely not. The way I think about this past year, and then I'll hand it over to AJ, but I think about an archery target, and I think, in 2022, I really think, if I'm reflecting, I didn't really know that much about my business in 2022, or I thought I did, but I was wrong. And in 2023, we were on the outer edges of understanding what we do, what's the opportunity, what's the growth potential. And then this year, we've moved closer to the center, but we're still not at the center. And next year, we'll move closer. And then 2026, we will move to the bullseye. And I think we'll have a very, very clear vision of who we are, what we want to do. And then I think we will introduce more diffusion, because growth is diffusion. Looking to grow aggressively is the act of leaning into things that you haven't done before. And it's this careful balance between very clear focus and then having ambitions about how to experiment and drive more innovation and more growth. So good things take time. That is my reflection for the year, but I'm really proud of the year that we had. And I think 2025, well, definitely for me personally, is going to be the best year of my life. But I think it's also going to be a really great year for business and for all of our businesses.
I love that. There's something so true about the fan. At least I feel the same way, that I don't know how much I really knew in 2021 and 2022. Even though we were winning so much, it feels like I've understood the game and learned so much more in the last year or two. I feel so much more secure after this experience. And so, yeah, I share that with you. That's very interesting. AJ,
I suppose similarly to you both. First off, 2022, I don't think anyone knew anything about their businesses in 2022. That, like, if you're listening to this, stop and think back to 2022, where you were in December of 2022 and what you were headed into 2023. There's a lot of uncertainty going on. And we talked a little bit about the show, so I'll get to our predictions in a second for 25. But for me this year, focusing on fewer things has been very clarifying. I think that echoes a little bit what Sam said, maybe in different words, where my team at some point, maybe at the beginning of last year, was almost twice as large as it is today. And by being able to slim down and be more, you have to focus on what matters. You have to let some fires burn, and you have to set your priorities really stringently, because you can't do 15 things. You can do 5. Maybe you can do 3 really. And this year, looking back at it, when as I mentioned, next week when I do a retro, I am going to be confident that I may not have accomplished everything that I wanted to, but the things I did accomplish were really meaningful and made a big difference on the business. And that's what I think that I'm looking forward to in 25 is doing more of the same. Why would I change that? I think that that's something that we should all really take into consideration when we're headed into a new year is that things that worked really well, keep doing those things and don't make major changes, but maybe take some major bets. So in 25, I think there's some big swings that we're going to do as a business because we've become much more operationally minded this year. That has allowed us to take a step back and strategically understand where there's some different changes in the world. So I'm really excited about that. As far as predictions, from a macro standpoint,
whoa, AJ, AJ on the meds going left and right today. He's like, I got this.
There's an order to this.
I almost forgot what a docket really means.
Then we do predictions. Jesus Christ.
In terms of predictions.
I just was about to just spoil. Okay. This better be a really good prediction when we get there then. Go ahead.
I hope so.
Yes.ai enables your CEO, subject matter experts, and other senior leaders to engage prospects directly, creating meaningful connections and boosting response rates. With just one click, your team can strategically involve senior staff to make your outreach more credible and effective. Empower your GTM team to orchestrate your outbound process and say yes to yes.ai. That's YESS.ai.
Question for you.
I do love it when it's us 3, by the way. It is just, it's such a, you never know. We've been doing this almost 100 times, and you're just
I love this.
There's such a predictability with me, but there's also with you guys just such a great, whoa. Hold your horses, everybody.
Relax, AJ. AJ, how you've made big bets before, you're making big bets now. What has changed about how you make big bets from pre-2023 to post-2023? How you think about them, how you measure them, how you operationalize them? What's changed in terms of how you make bets?
Yeah, well, when you start a company, the company itself is a big bet, and you have conviction around a thing, and there might be small pivots. And I said this in the last episode, but starting the company and assuming we had product market fit was a massive mistake because you just have to actually take those pivots. What's really changed though, Asad, in terms of how I think about bets is it's really focused less about my conviction and what I think is true and what I've heard from the customer and what the customer thinks is true. So taking some level of actually hearing them and saying, okay, they want this to be true. This is their signal. This is how they're thinking about successful outcomes in 2025. How does quota path fit into that? How do incentives, how does compensation management fit into outcomes? Obviously, there's a very nice overlap, but then it's my job to be able to productize and take what I'm hearing and build to that versus the other way around. And so that's one area where I think the bets are more customer focused and they're also smaller. We're going to release something in January that is a incremental push to a big swing in innovation that I'm excited, but we're going to test it and not do it all at one time, which I get really antsy and anxious if we don't do this thing now, then we're going to completely fail and someone else is going to get there first.
This is very interesting because I've spoken to so many founders and executives who are thinking like this now, where we want to do smaller things. We don't want to make the biggest of bets up front. We want to have a vision for what it can be. But there's this incremental deployment of resources, and we want to test. And we know if we see a little bit more momentum, we'll do a bit more and a bit more and a bit more in this particular direction rather than big bet, let's go. That's so interesting.
What did you learn this year, Asad?
I learned that I'm good. So what does that mean? So I didn't know if I was any good at this role for till this year, I think. Like really. In 2020, I became CEO towards the end of the year. And Sam, you said for the founders in a previous episode, must have been like stepping on shit, which I had no idea what that means, but now I do. It really was like the business was doing really well because the market was really good and we were winning a lot. I think in those 2 years, we had more profit than in the previous 6 years put together. But really, you don't know if that's you, if it's the market, what combination of the two there is. So as a new CEO, I just didn't know. I was like, okay. And then the market turned at the end of 2021, we knew it was turning. For the rest of that time, we were just trying to minimize risk. But you don't know if you've minimized risk as well as maybe somebody else could have minimized it even more. Maybe they could have steady hands could have charted this path a little bit better. So I think there was a lot of insecurity in me coming into 2024. And as the market stabilized, there was an opportunity to see 2024 was a chance to find some growth through capturing market share. Not because everyone is improving and the market's improving. If you were going to gain momentum in any part of your business, you were capturing market share. It was about having the right strategy, the right focus, and great execution. And we did. I'm very proud of the team and what they were able to accomplish this year. And I think this year it was quite clear to myself, like part of this is individual where I feel more secure as a person right now. I feel like, okay, now I can look back through this experience and say, we got through the worst of it. When the market improved, we were one of the first to improve along the way rather than waiting till everyone is just winning and the market's fluffy. And then the team, I think, did really well in dealing with the heartache, the physical and the mental pressure that you go through in late 2022 and 2023, and still finding the energy to fight with ambition and enthusiasm in 2024. So things like our BDR business is almost non-existent. We used to place hundreds of BDRs. We used to place the most BDRs in North America. Now we place like a handful of them. And that was a cyclical shift. Maybe it's cyclical. Yeah, cyclical shift in the market that we had to find a way to...
Secular is the word you're looking for.
Secular shift, yes. A secular shift in the market. And we had to find a way to find growth in another segment of our business to manage that because we couldn't do anything about that. The BDR world is just changing. And so to find the energy and the enthusiasm to go and solve those type of problems, I think is really hard. And the team was able to do it. So I feel very proud of the team. And I feel like every individual at STA is probably feeling a little bit of what I felt. We've all worked together for a long time. And most of us had never seen a downturn before. And so at the end of this 2024, I think me and each person in the business has this common feeling that we got through it. We were able to navigate the worst part, and we were on the front foot the minute things were stable, and we were able to find some wins along the way. And so feel proud of that. Feel grateful as well. So that's mine.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Okay, so now to predictions.
Ooh, lolly.
This is the fun stuff.
Okay.
You sure the predictions weren't just 10 minutes? You sure it wasn't 10 minutes ago? I swear it was 10 minutes
chomping
ago.
At the bit. Chomping at the
Okay, AJ, let's hear your prediction, AJ. Let's hear your prediction.
My prediction was a year off. So I made this prediction last year, and I went back and actually listened to the prediction, which the prediction was that there was a lot of capital that was locked up in PE that was kind of sitting on the sidelines. And for venture, a lot of it was being spent on AI, but I felt that private equity was still trying to figure out what this world was going to look like. And for venture, I also felt like there were going to be companies, rather than venture capitalists or PE even deploying their capital through just traditional means direct to companies, that they were going to fund some of their winning companies for like a roll-up strategy and consolidate. And I think that that's still going to play out. I think that plays out next year. I think there's going to be a lot of M&A action. I think at the higher levels, we've talked about M&A, but I mean more at the mid-market, and public companies and strategics are going to start acquiring companies in 25, not at the beginning of 25, probably later in the year. And there'll also be a lot of companies that were Series A, maybe even Series B, that will have some tough decisions to make and tough challenges, and look to peers, strategic peers that are well funded to get acquired, and roll up to a bigger and better tool, a bigger and better platform, bigger and better product. So I'm going to roll that prediction.
More consolidation.
There's going to be mass consolidation in the market next year. Yeah. For SaaS. More broadly, probably sales tech specifically, because I'm in it and that's what I'm seeing. But I think in MarTech as well, which there's been consolidation ongoing for years in that market too.
Sam, what's your take on AJ's prediction?
I agree with it. I think he was saying, AJ, your point is, because private equity always does roll-ups, but your point is that roll-up strategy will translate into VC more?
Yes.
Yeah, that feels... I said last year that this year would be the year of M&A. I think it was, but I think it was the year of low price M&A. It was the year of buyer-friendly M&A. And I think next year will be the year of marginally better seller-friendly M&A. I think the real year to pursue a liquidity or wealth creation event will be, or the years will be 2026 and 2027. I think if you can have a pretty good year next year, but show predictability around your business, and then you can show significant improvement in 2026, and then 2 years from now, you can, as some people say, in the book, meaning like your deal memo, your confidential information, your SIM, but basically like in the deck that you would present to investors, you have a credible path to whatever your goals are in 27 because you just executed your 2026 aggressively. Even if 2025 only showed marginal improvement relative to 2024, then I think that's going to be very good. And I think 2 years from now is an opportunity to do some interesting stuff. But nevertheless, I think next year there will be... So what does it mean to be slightly more seller friendly? I think multiples will tick up.
Yeah.
So whatever you think revenue or EBITDA multiples are today, I think revenue and EBITDA multiples will go up. And a year from now, if a $4 million EBITDA business is getting 15 times, or 20 times, I think it might be 25 or 30. If there's a good B2B recurring revenue business that's getting 6 to 8, I think we might approach 10 again a year from now.
I have a feeling we'll be past 10 because I saw a couple of deals. Some of the big deals that have happened in our market in the last month have been at 10x on the PE side. And it's like, whoa, these are big deals, like multi-billion-dollar deals. And so if we're already at 10x for high quality, but at scale companies, then I have a feeling that we could even see 12, 13, 14x for the scale you're talking about, Sam, which is interesting.
The important word there is marginally better. I think that's the thing. Like, don't set your expectations low to what it's really gonna look.
But like you go from 10 to 12x, that's like massive. Like if you're getting the outcome, like if you're having an outcome as a founder and you got a 12x or 13x versus a 10x, that's massive to them, right?
I also think, to the point of what we were just talking about, I think none of this is a fairly standard prediction. So I have one controversial prediction, but the standard prediction I have is company, first of all, related to the multiple thing, but buyers and investors are more sophisticated than they were 2 or 3 years ago. So even though margins will expand, for my business, they're not going to expand that meaningfully because, I won't be able to trade on B2B SaaS multiples because Pavilion is not B2B SaaS, and it won't be plausible to present it as such when that's basically what my investors invested against in 2021. So I don't think it's going to be this distributed future where it's not going to happen evenly. It's going to happen disproportionately, but there will be clear rational indicators of value expansion 12 months from now. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is efficiency will continue to improve because I really do think, to the point of what we were all just saying, that AI, offshoring, automation will all of us will run, even if none of our revenue grows, I think our margin will expand 5 to 10 points. because, I mean, I don't know about a full 5% meaning like if it's 10% EBITDA margins, it goes to 15%. That would actually be pretty meaningful. But I think everybody's margin will expand. And I think I think that we're entering a world where if you have a business at some scale, you can really pursue some efficiency improvements that even if you don't have a wealth creation event in the short term, starting to be able to see, okay, I can see a world where if we do this for the next 5 years, that all of a sudden adds up very meaningfully, builds the balance sheet. Maybe you can do dividends, maybe you can do a share repurchase, whatever. So I think all of that is right in the next 12 months. And then I think
that's a really smart one, by the way. Like, I agree 100% on that I think margins are going to improve a lot. I don't think go-to-market's going to become more efficient. I think that's the one part of the business that's at a macro level going to become more inefficient. But I think for the rest of the business, there's just so many cost savings available through the things that you mentioned that the margin profile at the P&L level will look better, even for us, right? The tier one services margin is supposed to be 40%. We run our business at the late 20s, early 30s. Next year, we will be able to easily get to a 35, 36% margin.
Wow, that's great.
Is your controversial take that the drones are really UFOs, Sam?
I mean, it's still weird that nobody's answered that question. Like, nobody is saying this is what they are. It's really freaking weird.
There was one take that was really interesting. There was a guy who is a drone manufacturer, and his take is that there's no reason for a drone to be flying at night because it can't actually see at night. So the only functionality that these drones have at night is smell. And if they're flying so low, it's usually smell related, like they're trying to pick up a scent of some sort. And so then he has this whole theory about how there was some
infrared cameras.
Most of the drones are not equipped with those cameras.
They're government.
And so his take was something around a couple of warheads went missing in Ukraine. This is a very conspiracy theory type of take, but it got a lot of attention last night that some nuclear warheads went missing in Ukraine, and there was somebody many months ago that was trying to bring light to this in the US. It didn't get a lot of attention. Now it's something that they're trying to see if it's in the US, and they're trying to find it because one of the things they can do is pick up radioactive material smell. So that's the conspiracy theory take that everybody is very bought in on these days.
That's weird. I think the name of the game next year in AI will be micro-segmentation. So I think that's going to be like a big category, which is basically, what if in a world where all of these, where I know AJ because I can use Clay or some other data repository to construct a very, very accurate picture of AJ based on all of your presence all over the internet. And obviously right now, ChatGPT or LLMs can write, an email to AJ that sort of references, hey, AJ, I know you're in Pennsylvania. I know you like to fly planes. Isn't that great? And I think that will translate to ABM personalized ads at scale. I think like there's going to be a world where your experience, your advertising experience, your media experience on the internet will be even more customized, and you'll be seeing ads for products that have your name in them, like all of the stuff that you would do for the enterprise, because you needed like an enablement person to build a deck that says we're hosting a webinar focused on pharmaceutical companies named GlaxoSmithKline. I think that's going to happen at the individual and person level. And I think it's going to be, yes, it's going to be tailored emails, but it's going to be messages. It's going to be visual display ads. It's going to be across all different kinds of media. And I think it's going to be quite effective. And I think, again, it's an argument for go-to-market conversion rate improvement, even if, because the signal will become very, very high. That's another prediction.
Is that your controversial take, though?
No, my controversial take was that one of the three of us will have a significant wealth creation event.
AJ.
No, not me. I don't think so.
Maybe. What I really think is that someone's going to acquire QuotaPath in 2025.
Oh.
For a lot of money.
I appreciate that that hot
The minute AJ sells, you and I are taking the first flight to wherever he lives.
Everyone that's out there, Sam does not have any other information than all of you have out there.
I really don't. I really don't. I just think someone's going to come to one of us. So this isn't just about AJ, but I just think there's going to be creative deal-making opportunities where maybe like on first blush, that deal doesn't work, but then there's a way to structure the deal that could make it work. And I think, anyway, I think
that's a hot take that I totally agree with, is that there's going to be a lot of M&A. We'll look back at next year and be like, oh, we didn't expect to see these two companies merge. Like, it could have been Google and HubSpot this year, but it wasn't.
Right.
But it could be Google and HubSpot next year. And I think there'll be deregulation around policies, around antitrust. That's just the reality of the situation that we're coming into a new administration around, and it will create some really unique deal-making structures that I think we'll look back and be like, oh, I didn't see this coming, but that kind of makes sense, and I'm curious to see where it goes next year. And it will be on a massive scale and on scale.
I would love that, because the thing where private equity is the only people that are really in the ecosystem right now is really not fun. Yeah. It's just nobody, it's like, well, you're going to this time's EBITDA, and if you're not growing 40% on this with 40% EBITDA margins, then you might as well not even. And I just want more strategics to feel like, we can.
There's a bit of a market.
We can get involved. Yeah.
And there's assets that we need, and we can see how they complement each other, and that justifies a premium.
Well, I think that within certain verticals, people think about market share, like how much market share can a company really have. I think vertical SaaS has shown that there's some examples where you can have an insane amount of market share. You can have 80% of a market, and you essentially you will tap out in terms of new business at some point, but your NRR can be great because you're adding different product lines. And I think that type of M&A that you spoke about, I can see it, like it makes a lot of sense, where you have somebody who's got a strong position in that market and says, well, now I need to find another $2 per customer, so I'm going to add these things on and become more of a holistic platform for this market. That would be really interesting and exciting. Those are good investments to make when you have such a secure business with tons of market share and you are adding things onto it. That's very interesting. Very interesting.
Thanks.
You want to hear mine?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
So I'll give you this one. Okay. So I think at some point next year, towards the latter part of the year, HubSpot will either make a big acquisition or get sold.
Oh man, Sam and Asad have the same prediction. Well, that's so interesting.
And so I'll give you my thesis. I right now, there was a lot of talk this year. There was even an article, I think,
because you're saying that I was saying HubSpot would acquire QuotaPath.
Yeah, that was my joke. Thank you, Sam.
I agree with you, Asad, but keep going. Explain why.
So I saw all these articles. One was even called The Death of a Salesforce. And this was around AI and its danger for Salesforce specifically. And I think Salesforce is an interesting company right now. They're $35 billion revenue business. And I think AI is a little bit unique right now, where I think it's good for big and it's good for small. I don't think it's very much that the advantage is only with the net new business. I think you can see some big businesses see some big advantages of deploying AI, and it's not that impossible for them to do it. They're not coming up with rocket science over there. Like the integration of AI for Salesforce was relatively simple. They were quick to be able to do it. And they went from being a company that everybody had written off to being the company that is the number one provider of AI at the enterprise level in the world right now. They're processing 2 trillion transactions a year. So I looked at everybody saying that these AI native platforms, go-to-market platforms, are going to attack and take over from Salesforce. And I find that people are underestimating how sticky Salesforce is with upper mid-market and enterprise customers. I think if you look at what all Salesforce sells to them, you've got Service Cloud, you've got Marketing Cloud, you've got Sales Cloud, you've got Tableau, you've got Slack. If you're a company that's integrated across all of those different things with Salesforce, the idea of switching when Salesforce has a tool, has an agent AI platform for you that is good enough, I think the trash that you will get from switching is not attractive. So I think Salesforce holds on to their customers and finds growth with this agentic thing. So then who is the AI native? Who is in danger with these AI native CRMs? And then you look at Salesforce, at HubSpot, and you see, well, who's HubSpot's customer? Small businesses. And HubSpot captures a lot of the net new business creation that happens in the economy. They get those customers, and they have small medium businesses. For them, switching is a lot easier. And I think if these AI native platforms start taking off, I think they would put HubSpot in a lot of danger. HubSpot is a $2-ish billion revenue business. It's now massive. And if you start seeing that their growth is slowing down because those new companies are taking some away from them, they're going to be in a precarious position, and they'll either have to do an interesting acquisition that broadens the problems they solve for this as the small business market, or somebody will pick them up, one or the other. So that's my prediction.
Asad, it's interesting because I know you said that we talked a little bit over text on this, which I appreciated the conversation, because there are former founders or former HubSpot employees, Day.ai. Yeah, they're working on this right now. HubSpot released their agent platform, Breeze, before Salesforce did. It just didn't pick up anywhere near the amount of press that Salesforce
did. Because they didn't release it the same way. Like, that's not a release. They basically, during inbound, they said, main thing is still Copilot, but we've got this like experimental new edgy thing coming, which is the agent, whereas Mark Benioff is like, everything else is not important anymore.
And he hadn't released it. It was all vaporware at that point. They had to redo all of their Dreamforce.
HubSpot hadn't released it either. Like, no one released it. They announced it. But now in terms of who's actually got revenue for agents, it's Salesforce. And my point is less about Salesforce is better than HubSpot. The point is that I think Salesforce doesn't have the danger, the way that the market had perceived initially. I think the reason why investors like to say things like the death of a Salesforce is it's not that exciting to say I'm spending billions of dollars on AI agent CRM companies to go and displace a $2 billion business. If I'm trying to invest all this money, my LPs are going to be excited for that investment. If I'm going after a $35 billion incumbent and saying I'm going to unbundle that behemoth, it doesn't hold the same strength when you're going after HubSpot, which does globally the revenue that Salesforce does in Germany. So I think the positioning.
I like that you switched from Australia to Germany, by the way.
Australia was off a little bit. But Germany is very much like I double checked.
I appreciate that Asad went and looked at the P&L of the 10K for Germany for Salesforce to figure out exactly what it was.
But I think that's positioning from investors, that this is the danger. I actually think that danger is not as credible as people have made it out to be. Whereas on the small business side, I think there's some significant disruption.
Well, so one area where I do agree with you is like enterprise ready. There's so much you have to do to be enterprise ready for security, SOC 2, Type 2, the integration, how you manage user management and member provisioning with Okta. Yeah. And so to do all of those things for enterprises takes a lot of upfront cost to build a company like that, where these AI solutions for SMB, you can just try, there's not as high switching costs. Now, where I still think there's going to be a lot of challenges because HubSpot has built horizontal. So there's a lot of infrastructure that is supporting these SMBs that if you're like, okay, you could pull off CRM, but then you're going to keep your HubSpot lead forms or your CMS or whatever, you're going to have different products. So there's a part of that. I don't buy into the fact that Salesforce or HubSpot or Asana or Monday.com or any of these things are going to be completely disrupted by agents. Asana is basically take Asana, tasks to do, or Notion or Monday.com. Just task-oriented things, something that is prime disruption for AI to be able to build your own like micro-personalized task-oriented thing. But at a commercial level, at a company level, there's a lot of features that sure might be bloatware for some, but a lot of features that are really ingrained in that are really important that I don't think agent AI just replicates automatically. It's not really possible.
Satya had this really interesting take. They released the podcast with him and Brad Gurley and Bill. Brad Gerstner and Bill Gurley. Yeah.
Squared.
And he had a take, which is that he said that the fact that we think that business applications, and he specifically spoke about SaaS, will even exist a few years from now, the way that we know them today, is really up for debate. He's like, if you've got these agents, then that's the interface. Then the backend, because he's like, what's a SaaS application? It's a database with some business logic and workflow solutions on top of it. If the workflow is the agent, then the database is really the only thing that matters on the back end. And that's going to be very disruptive for SaaS companies.
This, to your point, Asad, and what we were texting about, the three of us, AJ was saying, we were all saying, but you guys were saying it more than me. It's not a great time to be a CS major. For a long time, it was like, you got to learn to code.
Yeah.
If you have a natural language interface, if it's speech interface, I just said, I loaded all of the documents, and I'll keep doing it. All of our board decks and all of that stuff into one GPT, and I'm just going to query that. So that's the new interface, and I could speak to it potentially, to your point, Asad. And there's a world where you load in all the logic for a commission plan, and you say, build me a commission plan, and that's the interface. And so then like, where's economic value created in that world?
Yeah.
And I think, but I don't know that this is definitive, but I still think so services, basically high-end experiential services like recruiting, right? I'm not going to have an AI find my next chief product officer or chief marketing officer. I don't think, at least not yet. That'll be like maybe the last mile of adoption, which is like high-end executive level services. I can't have AI bring people together and have like a human exchange. Communities seem like.
So this is why Sam is saying I'm going to be acquired next year, because I won't exist otherwise.
Not very defendable.
I'm just trying to think of like what are moats, and it's like attention is still it's like, this is why we're doing this podcast. This is why you should create content or whatever. It's because having something interesting to say. I don't know if it's recurring, and I don't know about the business model, but I know about the assets that have value are the ones that can capture people's imagination and attentions, because workflows will be commodities. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, that's basically his take, and it's hard to argue with the take, right? What
a reversal, because for the longest time, if you were not an embedded workflow, you had no enterprise value at all, because brand is so ephemeral. And now it's like, brand, content, being Joe Rogan, being Asad Zaman, AJ Bruno, or Sam Jacobs, like, that's worth more than QuotaPath, the software.
Like, if you play this out a few years down the line and you say, distribution just continues to get harder and harder, then anyone that has distribution has an asset today that I think will increase from a multiples perspective over time. Like, it is going to become, it's so much harder, whereas building is becoming easier and easier. And so I actually think there are a lot of companies that will have to sell in 2026 because their future is going to be a little bit more murky because of what's playing out in terms of the workflow, the interface, the defendability of all of those things. I think there's a lot of disruption that's about to happen because of that.
Well, if you say distribution, let's talk about that for a second, because when I think of distribution, I think of basically you have a 1 + 1 = 3 with other essentially workflow in this way. Like, think about for QuotaPath, we have great relationship with HubSpot. We're launching one with Rippling next year. And that is distribution. Those are through their sales teams, through their go-to-market teams, through their partnerships teams. But we're essentially a middleware workflow tool between CRM and payroll. So how do those two? So Asad, how does distribution interact with workflow in this instance? Because I'm saying, like, I this is where I don't necessarily see it yet. Where if you're a standalone point solution workflow tool, yes. But if you're an integrator, you're creating something of value
a little bit different
from other data sources.
But I think those integrated middleware companies will have similar. Listen, if you are built on Salesforce's ecosystem, Klaviyo is a good example of a company built on Shopify's ecosystem that trades at a discount compared to any other company that would have their revenue, their growth, their NRR, etc. There is a platform dependency that comes with a discount in valuation, right? That's the way the market works. And I think those middleware companies are going to trade at a discount compared to where they trade today, but they will still be fine because they are a middleware company that essentially it didn't matter to them that the interface got taken over by an agent because they play this role in the background and their distribution is going through these platform partnerships, right? So that the multiple might compress over time, and that's just because building things becomes easier and all these. So a little bit of multiple compression, but they can still exist. They'll be fine. But anyone that was trying to be a front-end based solution, like I'm building you something, you're going to buy it, you're going to sign on and use it directly. That company is the one that is in bigger danger. Or
who's in major? So maybe a controversial point. Who's in major danger right now?
Who's in major danger right now? To me, HubSpot, and in terms of at scale companies. And then if you think about all of these like employee engagement platforms that have front ends that they like customers to sign in on, like the HR tech side of things, like I think that gets fairly disrupted.
What about like enablement, like a Seismic or a HighSpot?
My second take is RevOps 2.0 is going to show up, which is kind of on the enablement side. Like I think every function has doers and strategists, and I think the job of a doer is going away, and the value of a strategist is increasing. And I'm not talking about sit back and be strategic. I'm talking about like people who roll up their sleeves and they go and like they come up with strategy, they move fast, they can help implement it, etc. But the strategist, basically anything where there's high friction, judgment and taste is required, that's a more defendable thing right now. And anything that was like doer stuff, like I gotta like do this process oriented stuff, that's the AI is going to attack that earlier. So I think if you look at RevOps today, there's a lot of stuff that they have to do that's just doer stuff. And I think that gets taken care of for them.
A RevOps role that Asad can get behind.
Yeah, but these are what the great RevOps people are. They're strategists, right? The ones that are actual force multipliers. They're not force multipliers because they figured out how to do this like integration or this data cleanup or something. They're thinkers. They can understand how to forge a path forward in a way that drives predictability, repeatability, scalability, profitability, at least at the unit economics level. And I think those people are going to thrive. And that's what the job is eventually going to become, is like, we need people to do this stuff because there's AI doing the more doer element of the RevOps job. So I think the 2.0 version of RevOps will show up a little bit sooner than the 2.0 version of some other functions.
What do you think of, what's the value of, here's what I was thinking about just now as we're talking about brand, human brands, like all of our three individual person brands, separate and apart from our company brands. Is there any value to having like all of the content that one person creates into a GPT that's basically a coach, but it's a coach with a perspective? It's like you're buying Asad, but you're not buying Asad live. You're buying Asad because we've loaded a GPT with every Topline episode he's ever done, every LinkedIn article he's ever written, anything he's ever done. So we have high confidence that this is what Asad would say if you actually asked him. And maybe there's a threshold at which it creates a lead form for you to be like, hey, Asad, this person actually does want to talk to you. They're willing to pay your $10,000 an hour to be a coach. But the bot, to get access to your expertise and insight, is $5 a month.
Sam, are you testing the market right now with this?
I'm just thinking about.
It's a really interesting idea.
Right? It's like a classical funnel where you have a low ticket item, something free, then a low ticket item that builds into a high ticket item. And this is kind of that, where like you can interact with Sambot.
My LinkedIn is free.
My LinkedIn is free. Sambot is $5 a month.
Yeah. And then if you want to join Pavilion or whatever, because I guess part of like the thought process around the erosion of computer science as like a distinctive competency is that now is the time, to your point, strategists and creative people, like now is the time. What can you imagine? ChatGPT will tell you how to build a video game or build the bot or build the app or whatever. You just ask it how to do it. So like what's possible now that wasn't possible? And how do services businesses like Pavilion, which is not a technology business, how can we harness technology in new and interesting ways to create new products that are leveraging technology? Yeah, it's a wrapper on top of ChatGPT. We're not going to be worth as much as OpenAI, but it's a way of repackaging the insights that are held within the community in a more digestible way. And is that a new product that we could offer people where it's like, if you just want to figure out whether you should outsource your SDRs and who the major firms are, we've loaded a GPT with all of the insights from the Pavilion Slack over the last 5 years. You can actually buy that standalone for $25 a month. If you want to join the community because you want to talk to people and there's a little bit of citation maybe within the bot, that's fine. That's $200 a month or $275. But just thinking about what are the technical products that are possible now for non-technical organizations that weren't possible a year ago or 2 years ago.
I love that thought process because I think about when the iPhone and the App Store was new and how many millionaires were minted building simple calendar apps and like just simple stuff, right? Like for $1 download, and we were all like super excited. So we were trying things and downloading things. And there were so many people that made so much money building stuff that dropped, but wasn't necessarily going to be around 10 years from now, or wasn't going to be $100 million business, but they made $1 million here and $1 million there and $2 million there, and all these things add up. So I think the lifespan of some of these things might be a lot shorter, but I think businesses that have the advantage of distribution, or individuals that have the advantage of distribution, will be able to build and, publish these smaller things, which is interesting. That's something I'm hoping to be able to take advantage of.
Well, what was the name of the subscription service that B2B practitioners could like monetize content behind? There's a marketer that I like paid money to that you could like get. Podcasts do this as well. They like have it behind a paywall. I mean, Spotify, you can do this too. But there was for a few years ago, there were a lot of B2B folks that were out there that were like putting their like specialized content behind a wall. I thought that was going to pick up faster. Sam, you bring up an interesting. What was it?
Was it Patreon?
Patreon. Yeah, exactly. Patreon. Yeah. So to this point, it's actually, I mean, what Sam is suggesting is going to happen, like for sure. It happens. It can happen today. So who's going to be the first mover?
Feels like a very Justin Welsh idea. He's the king of like.
Maybe he has this right now.
Pay me money for me to lecture you on how to not work so hard.
He has been an operator for like 6 years. I don't think that counts.
I saw an ad from Chris Orlov yesterday on Instagram.
We're just going to hate
what is he doing on Instagram?
What'd you say, Asad?
I saw Chris Orlov on Instagram yesterday. Random ad, like I was scrolling and he popped in. It's like he had a bag. He's like, I joined Gong when they had this logo and they only had 100,000 in revenue, and I left when this. And so he was going on, and then eventually he was selling a course. So yeah. I haven't seen that on Instagram for like our slice of the world till I saw that.
That's cool. All right. I'm very, last week notwithstanding, I can tell you guys what happened offline. I was texting with you about it, Asad, but I'm energized.
Oh my God. This was the best year ever.
Y'all, AI is cool. Like, I hope if you're listening, I know that Brian and Kyle Norton, and like I know a bunch of our main listeners. That's why they're listening, because they're interesting people and they're experimenting with. But if you're not using some kind of LLM pretty much every day, it's gonna just do it. Just start doing it. Ask it to do weird stuff for you. It'll do it.
Switch your search engine to one of them. Like if you do that, it's like a forcing function to start using it more, because everything you would search on Google, and the average person searches 20, 30 things a day at least, right? Like little stuff. All of that will go through it and you'll become a little bit more used to going there. And it starts with getting used to it, and then your brain starts expanding what else is possible. It's necessary, because I think those who don't will really struggle. Will really, really struggle. It'll be a bifurcated world, a bigger bifurcated world than we're used to. Okay, that's the episode.
That's
the episode.
well,
We do want to
do shout outs or wins of the week.
Yeah, we're going to do shout outs. Wins of the week. You already did yours.
I mean, I already did mine to my daughter.
Nora put up 26. Nora had a step back 3 plus an and 1. She drove hard to the hole. She's just got muscle, but she's also got finesse. She left that woman in her wake on that crossover. She looked like a young Kyrie Irving, maybe a young Allen Iverson to do a good Phillies reference.
I bet you she does not know who Allen Iverson is, unfortunately. That's my fault, though. I will teach her. I will learn her right after this.
Asad, what's your shout out or win of the week?
I'm going to shout out our friend, David Spitz. David is somebody I cherish. I was writing last week's newsletter and I was very nervous because I'd heard this little statement from Mark Benioff that they're not going to hire any more engineers in 2025. And I was like, I haven't read about it yet. And there must be a dollar figure associated with those savings. And I can probably figure it out. But I'm not an accountant. So I was really scared that the number I had identified was wrong. And basically my logic was, I know if you can see how much money they spend on R&D every year, you know that about 70 to 80% of that is headcount. And so if they hit their guided revenue for 2025, but didn't increase their headcount in engineering, what's the savings? And I came up with 700 million, which would be the most money saved by any company in the world leveraging AI. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. I want to write about this, but I was so scared. And so I called him to stress test my thinking. He called me back immediately. He was taking the ferry to San Fran, and he helped me develop some conviction around that point, which allowed me to publish it. And so I appreciate him spending some time with me to help me out.
42% open rate. 42% open rate. I know.
That's great. That's great. Okay, everybody. I hope you're listening. This shout out is for CEO Pavilion. So a couple of years ago, we launched this community. I think it's been a little up and down over the last couple of years, but the vision that we have for this community is really coming into focus. And 2025 is going to be the best year of CEO Pavilion that we've experienced. And I really hope that people can make it to CEO Summit on January 22nd and 23rd in New Orleans. What's going to happen at CEO Summit? What can I share with you? Okay. First thing is on the morning of the 22nd, we're all going to be in a big room with John Mark Shaw, who is me and Asad's coach, among many other people. And we're going to do a visioning exercise, a personal transformation workshop, where we're going to figure out what we want to achieve. It's very similar to the thing that changed AJ's life, the Tony Robbins seminar that he went to when he had that idea that he wanted to start TrendKite. And we're going to start off with this visioning workshop because there's 3 themes to the CEO Summit. The first is AI for go-to-market, as we've been talking about. The second is profitable, efficient growth in an expanding world. And the third is personal transformation. How do you make sure that you achieve your dreams in 2025? So we're going to start off with this incredible mastermind by this coach to the stars. Asad just had an incredible year, partially as a result, thanks to John Mark Shaw, just like I've had some incredible results. Then we're going to move into a bunch of pretty hands-on workshops. We've got an AI for go-to-market workshop, and we've got a bunch of incredible CEOs from leading AI companies, including Copy AI, including Cargo, Attention, Otter, and a bunch of other great ones. And we've got somebody, I don't think Kareem's going to be there from Clay, but I know somebody from Clay will be there. So we're going to do a hands-on AI for go-to-market workshop where we're building workflows. We're demoing how some of these tools work. It's going to be absolutely incredible. We've got, there's one of the most famous CEOs that all of us know from a unicorn that is no longer the CEO of that unicorn, who is announcing a new co that he has just launched in the AI space that's going to happen. That's a surprise that's happening at the CEO Summit. Peter Carta, Peter Walker from Carta, is going to do a startups presentation, and he's going to do an investor panel where he brings in investors from a number of great places. Mark Roberge is going to come back to do an AI talk on what are the trends and themes that he's investing against for stage 2. Jaeger, the CEO of Crunchbase, is going to be there talking about what's happening from sort of the data perspective that they see at Crunchbase. Asad is going to be moderating a panel featuring Guy Rubin, Seamus Ruiz-Earl, possibly Megan Bowen, possibly Anna Tallarico, the CEO of Corporate Finance Institute, talking about how they are thinking about 2025 growth. There's going to be private dinners, and we're going to also be announcing a bunch of new products that we've been testing and experimenting with that AJ and Asad have been the guinea pigs for over the last year, which is our group our group therapy, our group transformation product with some modifications that you both aren't yet familiar with, but we're going to be relaunching Cabals as part of the CEO community and as part of like a core experience. And finally, a new partnership with Pavilion that we're going to announce on stage, all about understanding your own personality type and how we can make and create communities that are aligned from a personality perspective, and so you can have better interactions both within your small groups and also with the community at large. So it's going to be a really incredible event. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, I really would like to see you there. If you consider yourself a friend of mine and you're a CEO and you're not making it because you've got I put a limit on travel for the year and I'm all maxed out, just go to hell. I expect to see you there in person.
Let him be there.
It's going to be awesome. It's really going to be awesome. And it's going to set the tone for all of 2025. And you're going to walk out of there with a plan of attack on how you're going to make 2025 personally and professionally the best year yet. So that is my public service announcement for everybody. I hope to see you there in New Orleans. New Orleans in January is an incredible time. And it's going to be an incredible year. We are off next week. We are not recording an episode. So this is the last time you'll hear Topline, I believe, in 2024. Yeah. Wow. The next time you hear from us.
What a year. What a great, by the way, Sam, holy cow. What an awesome summit you have planned. I didn't even.
Yeah, that sounds really.
For the record, I bought my VIP ticket at the last year's summit when you gave a little bit of a discount off of it. I did that right then. I was probably the first ticket that was bought. So
thank you. It's going to be fun.
Overall, it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be great. So listen, everybody, you've made, our listeners have made Topline the #1 business podcast in Toronto, in Asad's neighborhood, for Pakistani men.
Inside a house that has a brick wall background. It's great.
But it's been such a good year. We appreciate our listeners so much. It has been fantastic doing this year 2 in a row.
Slack channel, the newsletter launched.
Launched the newsletter. Oh my God. I mean, how many people opened it last week? 42% against what?
Thousands, like around 50,000, right? So
50,000.
25,000 people read what Asad had to say about Salesforce saving money on AI last week. That's pretty cool.
Unique insights.
Yep. All right. Okay. So go have a great holidays, everybody. We're grateful for you. And we hope you have a safe and happy new year. 2025 is going to be the best year yet for everything that we're doing. So thanks for listening.
See you in 25.
Everyone.
This episode was brought to you by AirCall, the business communications intelligence platform. Deliver a better experience for your customers and your teams at AirCall. That's AIRCALL.io. Save time, save money, and improve performance with a single communications platform.
Thanks for listening to Topline. New episodes come out every Sunday. If you like what you heard today, subscribe so you never miss an episode, leave a 5-star review, and share it with your friends. Don't forget to join our Topline Slack channel to connect with us and discuss the topics we cover with other listeners. Click the link in the show notes. Lastly, if you're interested in joining Pavilion, you can learn more about membership at joinpavilion.com/membership. Thanks again for listening.